Alright, welcome back. Let's continue with the director and the Mood Matrix and maybe battleships. I don't know. Oh, almost. Still a little bit in there though. Boss, I'm getting less Discord now. That must mean he really is hiding something about that launchpad door. Whatever he's hiding most likely has something to do with the killer's escape. I wonder what it could be. He was doing something suspicious around that door. Maybe we can spot some change between before he came to the room and after. If the photo gave us a photo taken after the crime, let's run a comparison. Let's see. This footage is before Director Cosmos arrived. This is how the door looked after the director entered the lounge. Hey, look at that. There's a change. Something definitely is different. Director Cosmos. What is it? What have you been up to over there? Found the answer to what you were doing when Detective Fulbright found you, that's what. That answer lies clearly in this footage. What do is compare it to the photos taken during the investigation. Don't be ridiculous! If you knew an answer, you would have put it out already! Asking for it, this is what changed directly after the incident. It's this little knob over here.
Take that!
The answer is this knob. Gah, that's... Your Honor, please take a look at this footage. Let's see. Take a look at the knob next to the launchpad door. As you can see, it's horizontal. Yes, it is, isn't it? However... when we investigated the scene of the crime yesterday, the knob was vertical. What does that mean? It means that sometime between before the director arrived and after, someone turned this knob. Ah! After the scene was discovered, you're the only one who could have turned this knob. Come on now, Director Cosmos. Let's hear what you have to say. What are you trying to do by turning that knob by the door? Fine, I admit it. You're right, I did turn that knob. The knob is a safety lock meant to keep the launchpad in place. I was afraid there would be more explosions, so I wanted to move the launchpad away. You wanted to do what? Hey, didn't Ponto tell us something about how they prepare for the launch? He said that once the launchpad's fully assembled, just moved it to the launch site. But the safety lock in the boarding lounge has to be disengaged first. Guess that clues up what the knob is for. Oh, so the killer escaped in the Launchpad 1 corridor. Maybe they were transported along with the Launchpad to the launch site. I don't think so. The Launchpad 1 corridor was full of smoke. I don't think they could have escaped through that corridor. So where did the killer escape to? I guess there are some things we still have to uncover. Mr. Cosmos, first you tell us about the moving the Launchpad in more detail. Fine! Well, listen carefully. We're about to give the history-making testimony. I had no choice but to investigate the safety lock. I feared there might be more explosions, so I had to cut the launchpad loose. Surely the only escape the killer had was through Launchpad 1. But that area was a sea of smoke. Confound it, where on earth could they have gone? Director seems driven into a corner now. I can tell he's having a hard time hiding his true feelings. Just one final push then. Seems to conceal the truth shouldn't be that hard for us to break through. If we keep at it calmly, I'm sure we'll cross the finish line. Okay. Why are you happy about this? I had no choice but to disengage the safety lock. Make it sound like you were reluctant to do so. Yet, when you did it, you felt some joy, as if you were very pleased with yourself. Ah! How do you do it? How do you know everything as if you were there? Pretty impressive, isn't it? This is the power of the analytical psychology. Could explain why you felt joy when you disengaged the safety lock. I think back on the facts we've discovered up to this point. I like to believe that you were trying to fulfill some hidden agenda. I knew about that too! Because I'm more or less a pro at guessing. But you've no proof that I had a hidden agenda. And if I did, I would never ever tell you! So there! I know they say people regress as they grow older, but you, sir, take the cake. I know can you know such great intensity, intelligence, and integrity? The three eyes!
Silence!
You, a man of integrity, don't make me laugh. Prosecutor Blackwell, what came over him all of a sudden? You've spouted nothing but falsities since you've stepped into the stand. You're not the kind of man that will be glorified in the annals of history. Not for greatness, anyway. Unless you consider great barefaced liar an honor. Liar! His words fight harder than his blade. You moved Launchpad 1 after the explosions. My, how naive you are. You've had to realize how even the facts themselves have betrayed you. You know, that's a thought, but modern English can be your friend. And here's a thought for you. Immediately following the bombing, Launchpad 1 was on the boarding lounge 1 side. Please confirm this on scene. What? Liar! So that means Director didn't move the launchpad? Chris might judge for calling history's greatest liar to the witness stand. Let's leave him to indulge his lies and war games to his heart's content. Liar!
Objection!
It doesn't make sense. You can't deny that someone turned that knob. Once the safety lock was released, I'm sure the pad went somewhere. We chased down the truth of this issue. We might find where the killer escaped to. Ah! You're sure it must have went somewhere? We just might find out. You're going to nothing but conjecture, bluffing, and wishful thinking. Stop chasing your fantasies and see reality for what it really is. Or you're not man enough to, boy. Gah! Talk about hitting below the belt. You youngins these days. I don't really understand it. I don't understand it. I'm sure Dr. Cosmos must have moved the launch pad. The knob was definitely turned after he came to the lounge. The launch pad is right where it's supposed to be. Wait a minute. Maybe it all backwards. Maybe the director turned the knob, not to move the launch pad away, but to bring it back to where it was supposed to be. What are you blathering about? What if the launch pad was at the launch site before the incident? Then after the incident, Dr. Cosmos moved it back to its usual spot. All you do is turn the knob to call the launch pad back. Then it would be right where the police found it. Ah! Oh, he cut off! Oh, it came back. Don't worry about it. It's fine. Ah. He made him sigh like Mr. Starbuck. Was there a said that off base? It pains me to explain how wrong your own logic is to you, however. A great liar turned the knob only after he discovered the crime scene. Indeed, the pad existed beyond the lounge when our astral runners made their escape. In fact, it has been recorded for posterity and filmed this film. Oh, right. To reiterate, stop chasing your fantasies and see really where it really is, boy. Ah! Get a grip, Mr. Wright, and focus. We know the launch pad must have been moved. The reductions and the actual facts of the case are in direct contradiction to each other. Oh, maybe the two astronauts never actually boarded the rocket. This footage could be fake, taken with the body doubles at the incident or something. On second thought, that's too far-fetched even for me. Never actually boarded the rocket. Hey, wait a minute. Maybe, just maybe. Huh? Professor Blackwell, what if I told you the two astronauts never set foot inside the launch pad area, but instead went to another place? What if the director moved launch pad 1 back? It was not from the launch site. but from another place. What would you say then? Cut the existential bull, or I'll cut you. Mr. Wright, you will explain yourself at once. I know I'm right. It was all the other way around from the beginning. Very well, Your Honor. Let me explain. Better Cause's reason for removing the Launchpad 1 was... to trap the killer? No. He wanted to trap the true killer. Right, don't know. Never mind you, there was an explosion. That corridor between the launch pad and the lounge was thick with smoke. If the killer had been trapped in there, they would have been found dead as their victim. I guess you're right. Well, I'm glad you both agree. Now here's a penalty for you, Mr. Wright. He was happy with himself. I thought maybe it wasn't, though. I don't agree with that penalty, though. Your Honor, please give me another chance. To switch it with another place. Because you wanted to switch it with some other place. I'm sorry, but did you just say switch it? But what could I possibly switch to the launch pad with? Oh, you'd be surprised, Your Honor. All it takes is a little thinking outside the box, and the answer becomes clear as day. This is what was switched with the launch pad 1. Museum. Because it's on rails.
Take that!
Launchpad 1 was switched with the Space Museum. In the past, the Space Museum used to be Launchpad 2. It had all the same features as Launchpad 1, you can never even move to the launch site. Meaning the Space Museum and the Launchpad 1 can be switched with one another. You can't mean... The rocket astronaut's border was not the one in Launchpad 1. It was the one in the Space Museum. What? Balderdash! It's the only explanation that accounts for a riddle and inconsistency. This is all the space in was just before the incident. I see Launchpad 1 and the Space Museum already switched places. That's right. The two switched like this. The astronauts entered the Space Museum from the boarding lounge 1. This allowed the true killer to enter Launchpad 1 from the boarding lounge 2. And set the bomb in the rocket. When you think of it, the door to the Space Museum to the boarding lounge 2. Welcome! Space Museum is open to the public every day of the year from 9 AM to 7 PM. Exactly, anyone could have passed through the door to the Space Museum. There's no fingerprint recognition system on that door. In other words, the two launch pads switched like that. Someone other than Mr. Starbuck could have easily planted that bomb. Ah! But they're setting the bomb on the rocket. The culprit selecting the boarding lounge 1 waited there, concealed. In order to kill Mr. Ron when the two astronauts emerged from the Space Museum. We call that Miss Blackwell, Mr. Starbuck, and the director also dismissed his figure. Who we can suppose of killing Mr. Tehran. Made their escape in the Launchpad Museum, and then the Space Museum. After that, Director Cullen switched the two launch pads back, without realizing the killer was inside the Space Museum. The killer then left the Space Museum in a clean getaway. Ah! Right, Don, I see you know how to handle a sword and hand out well. Perhaps I should call you Swords Master Bluff. I'm a seasoned warrior who'd cut down many a prosecutor.
Silence!
But unless you can prove your theory, it's no better than a rusty sword. That's right, you're no brat, switch to launch pads. Somebody needs a better anger management counselor. The launch pads really were switched, then there must be a record of it somewhere. At the point where the launch pad 1 and Space Museum were switched with one another, the corridor beyond that to be the one that belongs to the Space Museum. Let's see, this is an image of the Launchpad 1 corridor. Do you see anything different when we compare it to the security footage? Huh? That number on the floor. Well, what do you know? Let's be all proof after all, Prosecutor Blackwell. And if this is just another bluff... Oh, don't worry. It's all right here. Right in this footage. Proof that beyond this door is the corridor to the Space Museum. Very well then, answer this for me if you would. What in this footage proves that the corridor belongs to the Space Museum? That's not a 1 back there, that's a 2!
Take that!
There's a 1 on the floor of the Launchpad 1 corridor. Take a look at the first floor corridor in the security footage. You see the number behind the astronauts. It doesn't look like a 1, does it? That's because what you see is actually part of a 2. What? Why is it a 2 and not a 1? That's because the corridor you see is the one to the Space Museum. Ah! Ah! So that means the corridor in this footage is not filled with smoke. That's right, because the explosion didn't occur in the Space Museum. The explosion occurred in Launchpad 1, on the opposite side of the Space Museum. Now that many of the 2 astronauts escaped from the Space Museum, the mystery with the previous show of how they got down the ladder is cleared up. Mr. Tehran claimed Mr. Starbuck somebody took the elevator from the upper level to the middle level. Just incredible, the 2 launch pads were actually switched. But you'd think someone would have noticed an event of this magnitude. Everyone was down in the basement shelter when the launch pads were swapped back. There's no way anyone could have known what was happening on the surface. No more lies, Sector Cosmos. It's high time you told us the truth. My honor, my glory, everything is slipping away. Time to hold my output weapon. Galactic engine, ignition. What? It's got haywire. It won't stop. My stars, my glory, my No, not that way! But bailiff, on your seat and after that witness. It's 3 minutes to retrieve you before you came to any bodily harm. Dr. Cosmos, do you admit you switched launch pads? I admit it's true. I switched Launchpad 1 to the Space Museum. It's good to hear words I can believe for a change. Before you do, Your Honor, 2 things. First, we don't know if Mr. Tehran had prior knowledge of the switch. As for Mr. Starbuck, he was unaware of the surrounding thanks to his medication. Either way, Mr. Tehran wouldn't have realized the entity stepped in the Space Museum. That it had been switched with the Launchpad 1. My first question is, if the Space Museum is perfectly fine, why did Mr. Tehran feel the need to put on such a dramatic display? As for my second question, I'd like Director Cosmos to tell us why he switched the 2 launch pads to begin with. Please, I can't. I exercise my right to remain silent. But I will say, my hands were tied. I was only doing what I could to keep my men from getting caught up in that blast. The director is terrified. Must have one heck of a reason for not wanting to explain why. Probably not a good time to try and pry it out of him, huh? Excuse me, but would you mind if I picked up my stars? Without my badge of rank, I'm nothing. I don't see why not. Bailiff, help the director retrieve his stars. Appears the possibility of a culprit other than the defendant has presented itself. Mr. Starbuck, is there anything you'd wish to say? I don't get it. Don't get it. What don't you get? Director, why did you do all that? From the very beginning, you never meant for the launch to go ahead, did you? You tricked us! Mr. Starbuck. Starbuck, my boy, I'm sorry. I can't tell you the reason why. But I do it to protect the Space Center. Director, will I ever get the chance to go into space again? Yes, of course. I won't rest until it happens. I will get you into space again, my boy. And the dream is still alive.
Silence.
Uh-huh. You're not going into space, Starbuck. But to prison. I won't have it any other way. Why are you so hung up on him? Yes, I accept that the launch pads really were switched. If there were a third person at this scene, I suppose they could have escaped. But I have yet to see proof of this third person's escape via the Space Museum. Oh, that's a good point. He's right. Oh, proof. Starbuck, you'll spill everything you know. What? Me? Where do you get those bombs? Tell me now. If you don't, I better feast on your blood. I'm gonna die. I wanna die in space. I have to do something. Solomon Starbuck. Prepare yourself. You know violence is the answer, Muscular Blackwell. That annoyingly cheerful laugh. Even other than... Yeah, hi. Champion of Rightnesses, Bobby Fulbright, here! In justice we trust. Detective Fulbright. Sorry to keep you waiting, Mr. Lawyer. Oh, not too late. I don't believe we had an appointment. Tried to hurry, but I ended up helping a little old lady cross the street. And then I had to break up a cat fight. I tell you, justice is sure a full-time job. Was it a fight between cats, or... Why are you here again? Because David is the culprit. I can make sure that justice is served. I don't have any idea what you're talking about. Fulbright. I always thought you were a bit touched in the head. But have you finally succumbed? Nope, but it looks like you've succumbed to this phantom of yours. Open your eyes up the evidence of justice and uncloud your judgment. What evidence? Come to think of it, he did say something about finding us some evidence. Thanks, you two. I feel a lot better now that I've been able to get that off my chest. I'm going to work extra hard to find that evidence for you. I didn't think he was serious, though. So what is it, Detective? Something that will prove Mr. Starbuck innocent. It is indeed. Have a look at this. What's this? A lighter. That's right. A lighter thought it had been used by the culprit, no less. The resident's cleaning robot picked it up. Yes, the victim's lighter around his blood along with the killer's fingerprints on it. What? Wow. Order! Detective Fulbright, can I assume that the fingerprints don't belong to the defendant? You bet. Mr. Starbuck is totally innocent. This is it. This is what I needed. Alright. Your Honor, this is evidence that sports defense is already your claim. Defend yourself, Mr. Wright. With pleasure, Your Honor. Call this slider was found. Based on that, we can extrapolate after the killer killed Mr. Tehran. They escaped the lighter in hand to the Space Museum, where they dropped it. The switching of the two launch pads occurred. Then finally the killer left through the boarding lounge 2 and made their escape. Meanwhile, Mr. Starbuck was found in the boarding lounge 1 after the murder. In fact, the Director Cosmos has testified to. Therefore, Mr. Starbuck couldn't possibly have been the one to drop the lighter there.
Silence.
But the defendant had free reign of the area until Director Cosmos appeared. He might have dropped the lighter in the Space Museum during that span of time.
Objection!
You'd like that to be true, wouldn't you? But Director Cosmos testified that right after they saw the mysterious figure with the lighter, went to the lounge and found an unconscious Mr. Starbuck. In other words, Mr. Starbuck wouldn't have had the time to double back to the museum. No prosecutor Black Quill, this lighter could have only been dropped by the real killer. Most importantly, Mr. Starbuck's fingerprints were nobody found on this lighter. I think you understand what this means, don't you? This evidence unequivocally proves that Mr. Starbuck isn't the culprit. Suddenly appeared to be decisive evidence that proves the defense's claims. As for the remote switch that was found in Mr. Starbuck's pocket, we can assume it was planted by the killer on the unconscious Mr. Starbuck. No, there must be some mistake. Frankly, Buster Blackpool, I've been worried about you. You've been chasing this phantom for 7 whole years. I understand your urgency because tomorrow...
Silence.
Fulbright, you promised never to speak of that. Huh? Tomorrow? What about tomorrow? Given the body of evidence, I think it's safe to say the defendant is innocent. Except for the fact that it was impossible for him to commit the crime. 200 questions remain, so I look forward to seeing what you two uncover. But for now, this court finds the defendant, Solomon Starbuck, not guilty. Yay! Yes, we did it, Mr. Wright. So we pulled it off somehow, huh? There's some help from Detective Fulbright. Mr. Wright, Miss Sykes, thank you. And please thank Apollo for me, too. You're the best. Ooh, I wish we could tell Apollo about Mr. Starbuck's verdict right now. Yeah, me too, but that's gonna have to wait. Well, the verdict has been reached. I'd like to bring today's trial to a close. Court is adjourned.
Objection!
Uh-huh. What up? It's too late to object, isn't it? It simply isn't possible. Something's wrong. Mr. Blackwell, are you dissatisfied with the verdict? Fulbright, what were the results of the fingerprint analysis for the lighter? Huh? The results. Well, I was in a hurry, you see, and then there was that catfight, and, well... I kinda got carried away when I heard the prints weren't Mr. Starbuck's, so... You've got to read it. Professor Blackwell, can you read out who the prints belong to? Upon thorough analysis, the fingerprints were found to belong to Athena Sykes. So says the report. What? What? Huh? Me? Order, I say, order! Miss Sykes, tell me you have an explanation for this. We just finished proving this lighter could have been only belonged to the killer. So finding your prints only leads to one grave conclusion. I don't know how they got on there, but I know I'm not the culprit. This can't be happening. We built up our argument piece by piece, and I don't think any of our reasoning was faulty. So how could it lead to this? What have I done? Please forgive me! I'm sorry! Order! Order! Detective Fulbright, stop your crying! What in the hell is happening here? It's like the world's gone mad. Order! I will have order! No order will be had. Fusion spiraled into utter chaos. After all we'd fought for, the truth had turned cruelly on us to accuse Athena of the crimes. Somewhere, somehow, everything had gone terribly wrong. We've stumbled over the edge of reason and into the jaws of a twisted darkness.